Hello, and welcome to the very first episode of Realms and Beyond. I'm your host, Jason, and I couldn't be more excited to kick off this journey into the unknown with all of you. This podcast is all about exploring the paranormal, the unexplained, and the mysteries that surround us, whether you're a believer, a skeptic, or somewhere in between. I want to start by introducing myself and my role here. I'm the skeptic of the group, the guy who asks the tough questions and looks for logical explanations. But alongside me is someone who has seen, heard, and captured things that challenge everything I believe. That someone is my childhood friend Tab, who lives in Fayetteville, Arkansas. Over the last few years, Tab has documented a series of extraordinary encounters with the paranormal, and his experiences are the heart of this podcast. Tab and I go way back. We've been friends for over 40 years. He's always been the more intuitive one, but in the past few years, his experiences have gone from subtle to undeniable. Living in Fayetteville, Arkansas, Tab began noticing strange things happening in his home, objects moving, doors opening, and even unexplained voices. Unlike me, who would have brushed it off, Tab decided to dig deeper. He bought recording equipment, set up cameras, and started keeping detailed records of everything he experienced. What he captured will give you chills.
First off, I want to thank all of you who have been patiently waiting for this first episode to drop. Every journey begins with the first step, and this is ours. As for my intro, I have been fascinated with the paranormal since I was in single digits. I can't explain how my instincts knew there is existence beyond the physical realm at such a young age, but I always had a gut feeling about it. I never explored it until 2022. The catalyst is fondly called the pill bottle incident. We can go into detail of it at a later time. Something as simple as a pill bottle thrown about 4 feet in the air and landing about 1.5 feet from me is enough to get anybody's attention. I finally had witnessed firsthand what I've always wanted, a paranormal experience. However, it wasn't until I bought my first digital recorder, April 2023, that I started exploring this new chapter in my life. When I captured my first EVP, my jaw dropped. I was thrilled. When I began reviewing my first EVP session, I had no idea what to expect. Was it all in my head? Just wishful thinking? I'd watched enough paranormal shows to know the basic questions to ask, but I quickly realized I needed to think outside the box. You'll come to see that I enjoy asking unique and, dare I say, fun questions, ones that sometimes deviate from the norm. I've kept my original script intact, even though I've added and adjusted questions over time. Some I no longer ask are crossed out, but I've left them visible to stay transparent. It's a small piece of history from the early days of my sessions, and I think it's fascinating to see that evolution in real time, especially when it's your own. Back to that first EVP. The session lasted about 58 seconds unedited. I knew from my research that you need to pause after asking questions, giving any entities time to focus and respond. It's believed that communicating takes energy, so I wanted to give them the space to try. When I heard that unmistakable yes, my jaw dropped. I wasn't scared, not in the slightest. This is what I've been chasing my entire life. And there it was. I listened to it over and over, then shared it with my mom and sisters. I uploaded it to our group chat and asked, "Do you hear what I hear?" I needed someone else to confirm it wasn't just my imagination. That single word, yes, was all I needed. One simple piece of evidence, served up on a silver platter, changed everything. It validated my belief that this was real and ignited my passion. That's where my journey began. I'm 54 now, and I've been conducting EVP sessions almost every night for several years. If I'm not actively asking questions, I let my recorder run for about an hour in the bedroom before turning in. In fact, it runs overnight every night. When I first started sharing my evidence with close friends, One of them suggested I document it in a blog. Then came Jason, who saw an even greater potential. He suggested a podcast, and while I had my reservations at first, I eventually warmed up to the idea. Without Jason, this podcast wouldn't exist. And now here we are, and I couldn't be happier.
Tab's recordings include EVPs, or electronic voice phenomena, strange sounds, and even encounters with shadowy figures. This evidence will be a major focus of this podcast, and we'll play it for you, analyze it, and try to figure out what's really happening. To fully appreciate Tab's encounters, you need to understand the backdrop. Fayetteville, Arkansas is a town rich with history, and some say that its past leaves a mark. From old battlefields to historic homes, the area seems to have more than its share of unexplained activity. Tab's home, where much of the evidence was captured, sits near one of these historically significant sites. Could the activity he's experiencing be tied to the land's history, or is there something else entirely at play? That's a question we'll explore throughout this series. All right, it's time to get into the first piece of evidence. This EVP was captured late at night in Tab's living room. He was sitting quietly with his recorder running when he caught what sounds like a voice, one that no one in the house could have made. Before I play the clip, let me set the scene. Tab had been hearing whispers and footsteps for weeks. This was the moment he decided to leave the recorder on overnight, just to see if he could catch anything. What he captured is chilling.
Please do so. Please communicate with me verbally and loud enough to where I can hear you. Do you remember what you used to do for a job?
Did you hear that? Let's listen again. It sounds like it's saying, yes. What do you think? Let us know your thoughts. Could this be proof of the paranormal, or is there another explanation? One of the things I find fascinating about the paranormal is how it taps into our most primal fears. Why are we so drawn to the unknown, even when it terrifies us? Is it the thrill of the mystery, or is it something deeper? Maybe a longing to understand life after death? I've always been skeptical, but I can't deny the emotional reaction I had when I heard Tab's recordings for the first time. It's that mix of curiosity and fear that keeps us coming back for more. This is just the beginning of our journey into the realms and beyond. In upcoming episodes, we'll share more of Tab's evidence, visit haunted locations, and invite guests, both experts and everyday people like you, to share their experiences. We're also building a community where you can share your stories, ask questions, and even help us analyze evidence.
This journey has been so much more than that first yes. There's been so much history to unpack, my own experiences, my techniques, and the lessons I've learned. But I also want to hear your stories, your experiences, your methods.
Follow us on social media and let us know what you think about today's EVP. Was it paranormal, or is there another explanation we haven't considered? That's it for today's episode of Realms and Beyond. Thank you for joining us as we kick off this journey into the unknown. Next week, we'll dive into one of Tab's most personal and vivid encounters, an experience so compelling it gave even me pause. Until then, stay curious, keep your minds open, and remember, sometimes the answers we seek are waiting just beyond our reach, in the realms and beyond.